This is breaking news from RTV6, working for you.
We begin with breaking news this midday. A major shakeup for the Indiana Pacers after another first-round playoff loss. Less than a half an hour ago, the Pacers announced that they were firing head coach Nate McMillan. McMillan took over as the head coach of the Pacers before the 2016-2017 season. While he had success during the regular season, the Pacers were unable to go past the first round of the NBA playoffs during his tenure. That includes the sweep at the hands of the Miami Heat that ended the Pacers season this week. It was only 2 weeks ago that McMillan and the Pacers agreed to a contract extension that would have kept him as the head coach through 2022. Again, Nate McMillan has been fired by the Indiana Pacers. We'll have more on this developing story at WRTV.com. Plus, we'll have a full report tonight on the news at 5 and at 6 o'clock. Switching gears now to our forecast. Todd Clausen is standing by from home this midday. And Todd, we have another hot one for folks here around the Hoosier State. What can we expect as we head out the door for lunch?
Yeah, it's a hot one, as you mentioned, Lauren. The humidity up there as well. Temperatures today running just slightly cooler than they were at this point yesterday. But look at this. We're still at 85 degrees right now in Indy, 86 in Terre Haute, as well as Bloomington. 85 is the current temperature in Muncie. And when you factor in the humidity, we still have heat index values that are in the mid-90s in some areas. 97 is what it feels like in Greencastle. 94 in Lafayette. Feels like 89 in Indy. And a lot of this just depends if you have a little more in the way of cloud cover or not. But look at all the haze that we have as you look from IMS back towards downtown Indianapolis. So the satellite radar picture doesn't show a whole lot out there. But with that haze out there, it gives the perception of quite a bit in the way of cloud cover. But the main overall storm track remains to our north throughout the day today. But you can see the clouds to our south creeping to the north. And some changes are going to start to occur in the coming days. Those changes bringing storm chances back into the forecast. But with the exception of maybe an isolated storm this afternoon, we are looking at plenty of sunshine, 90 degrees by 4 p.m., then falling back down into the mid-80s here this evening. We'll talk about the storm chances and the impact of Hurricane Laura on central Indiana for you coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, Metro Police are investigating yet another series of shootings here in the city. A total of 6 people were shot in 5 separate incidents that happened over a span of 8 hours. The latest shooting happened after 1 o'clock this morning on the east side of Indianapolis. Police say that 2 teens with gunshot wounds drove up to a patrol car near East 10th Street and Linwood Avenue. A 15-year-old was taken to the hospital in critical condition. An 18-year-old was also taken to the hospital, but he is expected to survive. Investigators believe this all happened a couple of blocks away near Michigan and Linwood Avenue. The first shooting led to what appears to be the city's 150th homicide of the year. This happened just after 5 o'clock Tuesday evening on Tradewinds Drive, that's near I-70 and Midhofer Road. Officers say the shooting victim was dead at the scene by the time the police arrived. Police tell us they do not believe the shooting was connected to the others. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, police say 2 people have died after gunfire and violence that had followed what had been peaceful protests over a police shooting. It's the 3rd night of unrest in that city, and some who are on the ground say violence was instigated by self-proclaimed militia members. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Graphic video shows a crowd of people chasing a man with a long gun in the middle of protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He then falls and begins shooting into the crowd.
We've seen at least 4 people with handguns running around here.
Police say 2 people were killed and 1 was hurt. It's unclear if the shooter caught on camera was behind the fatalities.
I have a 3rd gunshot victim walking into the right now.
Protesters and police have been going head-to-head day in and day out.
If you have more complaints, go ahead and voice them with your governor.
A city in chaos after 29-year-old Jacob Blake, an unarmed black man, was shot at point-blank range Sunday evening in front of his 3 young sons.
All my grandson asked repeatedly is, why did the police shoot my daddy in the back?
This video shows Blake before he was shot, appearing to struggle with officers before getting up and walking to the driver's side, apparently leaning in when an officer grabs his shirt and shoots him in the back, 7 shots ringing out. Blake has been in a hospital bed since, now paralyzed from the waist down. His uncle speaking on ABC's Good Morning America today, praying he'll be able to walk again.
He's in a lot of pain. It was definitely a racial issue involved. Why is it happening in 2020 so often in our community?
The first thing he did when he looked at me was cried and then began to say, I'm sorry about all of this. He says, because I don't want a burden on anybody, and I don't think I'm going to walk again, Mom.
2 officers involved are now on administrative leave pending the investigation, but there has been no word from authorities explaining why Blake was shot.
The FBI has joined local law enforcement and the Department of Justice in the investigation. Meantime, Blake's family is asking protesters to be peaceful as they fight for change in this country. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Now to the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic. Cases on the rise again in the state of Indiana. The State Department of Health today reporting 971 new cases along with 18 deaths. In some good news, the positive test rate continues to slowly fall. The 7-day average is now down to 6.6%. And today, Governor Holcomb will hold his weekly news conference with an update on the state's response to the pandemic. The governor is also expected to talk about the state's mandatory mask order. Right now, it's scheduled to expire after today. Also, Secretary of State Connie Lawson is expected to talk about voting this coming November. As of now, Indiana is one of 6 states that does not offer no excuse absentee voting for the general election. The governor's news conference is at 2:30 this afternoon, and you can watch it live right here on WRTV and WRTV.com. Well, if you live in Marion County, voting in the November election will be much easier than it was during the primary. This morning, the Marion County Election Commission approved a total of 188 polling locations that will be open on Election Day this fall. The county only had 22 polling places during the primary in June, largely because it was difficult to find poll workers during a pandemic. The polling places will also include Lucas Oil Stadium, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse, and the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Almost a year after complaints began, some neighbors say nothing's been done about a rundown home. Next, WRTV again tries to get some answers from the city. Todd.
And Lauren, we've been in this hot and humid stretch of weather with just some isolated storms. Well, things are about to change. Hurricane Lauren, now a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, and this will bring some rain and thunderstorm action to parts of central Indiana. We let you know when it arrives, how long Lauren's going to stick around in our area. We'll look ahead to that weekend forecast as well when the news at noon continues right here on WRTV.
We've been hearing it, 2 years before the news got involved, we were hearing it, and now we're still hearing it. So until I see it, I don't believe it.
For almost a year now, WRTV has been working to get answers and action for frustrated neighbors who say this rundown home is dangerous. Today, they're still waiting for the city to make good on its word to tear down that home. WRTV's Cameron Riddle took those concerns to the city again.
It's been 10 months since residents on the south side first called WRTV, raising concerns about this abandoned and partially collapsed house at 2310 Harlan Street.
I've lost track. My friends tease me about how much I'm on the news about this. The city hears us, they just don't care.
Used needles were found in front of the home where Katrina Cunningham's daughter gets on the bus. Now, 47 weeks later, unwelcome squatters are regularly in the house.
It's me and my daughter in the morning, and there's usually about 3 to 4 strange males out here sleeping on the porch.
When we first met Cunningham on September 30th, 2019, we took our concerns to the mayor's office, which informed us the house had been slated for demolition since 2018 and could actually be demolished by the end of 2019 or the early part of 2020. When that didn't happen, Cunningham and some of her neighbors continued calling for action after witnessing people inside the house that is half destroyed from a fire.
The whole back half is caved in, so just going in there is a hazard. obviously you can see the structure's not sound. People sleep in there when it rains. You can see the boards in the window. They put those up there because I guess the living room area is not burned, they say.
Earlier this year, city officials told WRTV the house was added to a bid list for demolition projects in the first quarter of 2020. But now, in late August, the house still stands. Today, the city tells WRTV notice was given to start demolition on the house on July 22nd. A contractor is in the process of disconnecting the utilities and will begin tearing it down in the next 2 to 3 weeks, pending any unexpected delays or restrictions.
I'll believe it when I see it. The city doesn't have to live here. The mayor doesn't have to live here. So it doesn't matter to them. It's not their kid out here at the bus stop in the morning. It's my kid.
In Indianapolis, Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
Cameron, thank you. And the city tells WRTV you can use the Citizens Access portal to research permits and demolition or repair cases that are in your own neighborhood. They also tell us the best way to report similar issues is by calling the Mayor's Action Center or reporting issues on the Request Indy app or website. Well, it was a surprise burst of intensity, and now people who live along the Gulf Coast are preparing for the worst. Next, how Texas and Louisiana are getting ready for Hurricane Laura. Back here in the Hoosier State, we're dealing with a hot stretch of weather here across central Indiana. Some blue skies out there this Wednesday. We'll check in with Todd and get his full forecast for the week ahead. That's coming up right here on the News at Noon. Stick around. Welcome back. Just ahead of its landfall, Laura has become a dangerous hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. You can see how big the storm is from these images captured by the International Space Station. Forecasters now say that Laura will grow into a catastrophic Category 4 storm by the time it makes landfall. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Galveston, Texas, where residents are preparing for the worst.
Galveston is under a hurricane warning, and we have seen an urgent effort to evacuate people off of the island. Nursing homes have been loading residents onto buses and then taking them away. We've also seen the highways packed with people. Heavy traffic backups on Tuesday as people headed inland to get away from the storm. Officials actually delayed or staggered the evacuation orders, hoping to prevent the chaos we saw back in 2005 with Hurricane Rita. Absolute gridlock during that time, and it turned tragic. Many people died during the evacuation itself. In the meantime, overnight there was a curfew in place for Galveston. That will go back into effect later today as this storm approaches. Officials here say that time is quickly running out for people to get off of this island. Marcus Moore, ABC News, Galveston, Texas.
All right, so things getting more serious down there, Todd. I know you've been monitoring the storm as well and seeing how that could eventually maybe make its way up to our area. What can we expect right now?
Yeah, you know, it's going to end up passing just south of us, so it's going to kind of give us some minor impacts, but it does get close enough, Lauren, to give us some cloud cover, certainly probably some rain and some thunderstorms eventually as we get towards the end of the week. But here's the current satellite picture right now, and you can see a very well-defined eye, a fairly symmetrical storm. And this storm went over some very warm water and favorable conditions for development this morning, and it went from a Category 1 storm to what it is now, a Category 3 storm. With winds sustained at 125 miles per hour. It's expected to continue to strengthen here this afternoon, become a Category 4 storm, and then make landfall essentially right on the Texas and Louisiana border, and then eventually a Category 1 storm as it weakens by Thursday morning, and then eventually starts to track up to the north, and it makes almost a right-hand turn, and that's because of the jet stream and a front that's going to be coming through. If that front wasn't coming through, we'd probably get more in the way of rainfall from this storm system, but as we go over to the rainfall potential, you can see those yellows and the reds, the real heavy rainfall. They extend up to about the Evansville area, but then you notice there's a very sharp cutoff as we work our way further north into central Indiana. Of course, if this track changes, we could bring some heavier rainfall amounts into our area, but we're looking at mainly just some scattered showers and storms as a combination between the remnants of Laura and also that front that's going to be making its way through the area. Temperatures pretty consistent here this afternoon. We're currently sitting at 85 in many locations. Bloomington is up to 86 degrees. Our high today should get up to right around 92 degrees for your afternoon high. And then as we work our way into the evening hours, temperatures will slowly start to cool off. That 92, though, is going to actually feel even a little bit warmer than that, though, when you factor in the humidity. The storm track right now is to our north, so all that is going to miss us. But you also notice the showers here to the south starting to stream to the north ahead of what will be Laura making its way on shore later on tonight. So this evening, mostly sunny. Temperatures will be in the 80s for the day tomorrow. We'll start off with a little more in the way of cloud cover and even the chance of a spot storm tomorrow morning. And because of the additional cloud cover and the storm chances tomorrow, temperatures will be in the mid to upper 80s. I don't think we quite get to 90 degrees. Here are the scattered storms throughout the afternoon hours tomorrow. They're pretty hit and miss. It's definitely not a washout of a day. And as we continue into Friday afternoon and evening is when the front comes through, combined with the moisture from Laura that will bring some scattered showers and storms into the area. The good news is, though, it looks like that front will push almost all the moisture off to our east by midday on Saturday. So Saturday's rain chances are earlier in the day. The humidity drops as the day goes on. And then Sunday looks terrific, starting off in the 50s, believe it or not, Sunday morning, going up to 80 degrees with lots of sunshine. And then we'll keep the temperatures, Lauren, right around 80 degrees as we work our way into Monday and Tuesday. But obviously the big weather story here is the heat. The big weather story overall will be the landfall of Laura late tonight and early tomorrow morning along the Gulf Coast.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it, Todd. Thank you so much. Well, these days you can buy just about anything online, but there's one Indiana company that appears to be making promises and not delivering to customers. Tim Maniscalco with the Better Business Bureau has more about an auto parts company that you need to watch out for.
This is actually a company here in Indiana. It's called Indiana Super Duty LLC. They sell used car parts over Facebook. What we found is that people are ordering these parts, but they're not actually getting the parts. And we've also found out that any of the negative sort of comments or reviews that are placed on Facebook about this account, and this particular Facebook seller, they've deleted those. So when you go and look at them, they look like they're a good business. They look like they actually do deliver what they are selling. So just be very, very careful if you are doing business with this particular company. I would make certain that you actually have the part, or maybe the part is sent to you prior to you giving them any money. But we have had several complaints. They're called Indiana Super Duty LLC. You'll find them on Facebook for used auto parts, and just be very, very careful before you do any business with this particular company.
All right, Tim, thank you so much. Well, you can find out more about this and other scams by visiting bbb.org. Here's another live look outside from our tower camera here. We'll have one final check of your forecast with Todd. Straight ahead, you're watching the news at noon on WRTV. Well, if you just can't get enough of Tiger King, you're in luck. We're told that Netflix is working on a second season of the reality show. Well, now Hollywood may be putting another spin on the battle between the big cat rescuer, Carole Baskin, and Tiger King himself, Joe Exotic. USA Today reports that Kate McKinnon is set to star as Carole Baskin in the limited TV series. Baskin was awarded ownership of the zoo run by Joe Exotic after he was sentenced to 22 years in prison for plotting to have Baskin killed. NBC Universal says the series will be based on the podcast entitled Joe Exotic. It will be released on NBC, Cable USA's channel, and the new Peacock streaming service. And here is your daily dose of cute. The Metro's Richmond Zoo out in Virginia releasing this video of a baby pygmy hippo's very first swim. The zoo says the female calf was born back on July 26, and she's the first pygmy hippo to be born at the zoo and also the first to be born in the state of Virginia. Pygmy hippos are rare and endangered, and their survival is more certain in the zoological parks. That's one of the reasons the calf's arrival this summer was so special. That is pretty cute, Todd, and that is where you want to be today, in the water.
Right. The hippos have the right idea, finding the water, trying to stay cool. And how cute is she? So small right now, but we saw Fiona, how big she's going to get. All right, 93 today, hazy sunshine tomorrow. Still warm, a little cooler, though, with more clouds, some spotty storms tomorrow. Friday into Saturday is probably a wettest stretch of weather here with the remnants of Laura moving through, and then cooler weather for next week. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you, and thank you for making WRTV your choice for news. We hope you join us here for the news at 5. Have a great afternoon.